One argument I typically see in any discussion of sexism in gaming is the point that objectification of women isn't a unique problem worthy of discussion because men are just as objectified.
Yeah, true. But in a somewhat different way are men objectified, both in video games and in the real world.
We're all equally reduced to lusted meat, goes the suggestion, therefore we need to stop talking about women's problems. According to the argument, while women are portrayed as having tiny waists, big breasts, and thrusting their asses in every direction, the men are overly muscled, overly brave, and overly powerful.
Which unto itself isn't really a problem. I mean, if we're going to start arguing about the fact how women are unrealistically sexy and how men are unrealistically powerful, yeah, we're going to have to start there. But we're going to have to end on the fact that there are hydras that we have to fight with swords. And one video game with a sword that's shaped like a key, so...
This NeoGAF response to my Jimquisition on Dragon's Crown put the argument as such, stating that male leads in games are ripped, tall and heroic, and he's not upset by it, so why the big stink over women being portrayed uniformly as walking boob dispensers? You know, I don't think wanting to believe we're all equal, I don't think wanting to believe that the playing field is level makes you an ignoble person. Hell, it'd be nice to believe that. It's not, however, true, and it's not true that men in gaming are really objectified. They're not.
Alright, man. I'm looking forward to see how you spin this, because it's going to be some amazing levels of mental gymnastics. I can almost guarantee it.
First of all, let's examine who games are being made for. Despite the gaming audience being roughly half women, most AAA games are still made entirely with young men in mind.
Well, no, not technically. The video games that we're about to discuss are, what, RPGs, which I think RPGs, last time I checked, were maybe roughly half women. But action-adventure games, on the other hand, first-person shooters are overwhelmingly filled with men playing video games. In fact, I don't even think the statistics on 50% of RPG players are women. Evidence to that would be the fact that the vast majority of people I've ever met on any RPG game has been a man, and the female players have been men pretending to be females, and the female players pretend to be males because they don't want to be hit on by men, which stands to reason. It doesn't make any sense that anyone would pretend to be a man when half of the population is also men, you know? I mean, that sounds like you're wasting your time. You're going to meet 50% women and men. So why would a woman pretend to be a man if 50% of the population is also men? And why would the vast majority of players who play with women pretty much worship the goddamn ground they walk on if they have a 50% chance of meeting a woman every time they play the game? Sorry, but no, all evidence stands to reason you're not getting a 50-50 split of men and women playing first-person action-adventure role-playing games. However, in terms of the broader spectrum of games, which includes mobile games and all of that, then yes, you would get a 50-50 split. However, the genre of action-adventure games, no, that is dominated by mostly men, just by the objective evidence of actually playing those games in those communities and even statistics. Continue.
That's not an assumption. Ken Levine himself admits Bioshock Infinite was marketed to appeal to frat boys. Naughty Dog has revealed its focus testers didn't want to see what women thought of The Last of Us and was trying to appeal exclusively to males.
And that unto itself is not a problem. Really, it's not. I don't really see why people make games for men. No, that's sexist. People write books for women. Is that sexist?
Well, the director of Remember Me has told her female protagonists are being killed off by publishers because men allegedly don't want to play as a girly girl.
Perhaps that's the reason. From what I've seen, Remember Me got some pretty good reviews. Maybe some people didn't pick it up because they didn't see a lot of advertisement for it. I certainly didn't. Maybe that's the problem. As far as gameplay goes, I haven't really seen much of it. See, that's what I'm saying. Probably had nothing to do with the fact that it was a woman. Think about Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider gets a lot of advertisement and a lot of players because of it. Just saying.
We know that mainstream game development is predominantly designed by men for men. And
yes, and that unto itself is not a problem. I mean, the vast majority of literotica is written by women for women. Do you have any problem with that? No. No, you don't. So I don't really see the issue here. Considering the fact that it takes vastly much more time making a video game getting the voice actors, rendering it all out, and then buying distribution and all of that, than it takes to writing a book plus its distribution. I'm sorry. If they want a mostly male audience, they can have it. The same way, if the little erotica writers want a mostly female audience, they can have it. That unto itself is not a problem. At least I don't see it as a problem, and you've yet to convince me that it is.
Knowing that, we have to ask, exactly who is this hypothetical male objectification being done for?
Women? I don't know.
Women? No, because the industry has a practiced history of not giving a fuck about women.
Well, no, it seems it has a history of doing what every business has ever done, pandering to the market that is investing in them. I mean, the only reason video game developers do care about women, which isn't even true, is because it's vastly more men who are buying and playing these games than women. Sorry, that's just the objective reality of the goddamn world. I mean, if it wasn't, you wouldn't see them pandering towards men as much as they do. I mean, same thing with any product that you would pander or advertise to women. Like lotion. I'm just saying. Like hair dye. Vast majority of people dyeing their hair, it's not men, it's women. So mostly you will see a lot of different hair care products that are targeted mostly towards women. Because mostly women are buying them. That's not a problem unto itself. I don't really see an issue there.
Gay men? Ha! We've not even moved past the lol you wanna have sex with a man lol gay stage of video game writing yet, if only. No, in the same way female characters are being designed to appeal to men, so too are male characters. But not, of course, in the objectifying sense.
Well, no, they're just objectified in a different sense. And even then, it's entirely possible that women are playing these games because they find the characters they're playing as sexy. Contrary to popular belief, men and women are attracted to different things. And here's another thing. Who knows? Maybe women are equally as attracted to these female characters because they're really sexy and desirable. Because again, men and women are attracted to different things. We desire different things. Because we're different. Who knew?
Objectification is the reduction of a human being to a thing, an item, a something to possess.
You do understand, if that's your definition of objectification, then it is quite literally impossible to objectify a video game character. I mean, completely ignoring the fact that they don't exist, well, they're not even human. In fact, it's just the disc that spins really fast in the black box that's connected to another black box that projects a screen of a computer animated thing that's shaped like a woman or a man. But they're not really men or women now, are they? They don't exist. And thus it's impossible to objectify them. It's kind of made your entire video a gigantic waste of time, by the way, but let's keep going.
This is what's meant when we say women are objectified. In a previous video I explained how video games typically objectify women by making them the targets of sexual desire while stripping them of their agency and sex.
Okay, well, completely ignoring the fact that that's impossible, one thing that we're going to have to ask the question is, doesn't the same exact thing happen to men? Men also don't have agency in these video games. I mean, what do you have to do? Complete the objective to get to another point of the story that's going on. You're just controlling a character that's in a forced scenario that is playing through whatever is going on. Like an Asura's Wrath. You're just Asura fighting monsters while he's trying to get his daughter back. I mean, but he has no agency unto himself either. The player is just moving him around, but same thing. The only difference is that the player is in control of the character whose destiny is to follow a certain tract of life. Really.
Women are allowed to dress skimpily, they're allowed to be hit on, and they're allowed to be fucked.
Allowed by who? Who is allowing them to do this? Last time I checked, women were adults and they can choose their own decisions. What? Are you talking about teenagers? 14-year-olds? A 14-year-old is allowed to wear a short skirt? She's allowed to go outside? Is that what you mean? Because her mom and her dad don't let her do these things? What do you mean are allowed? It's nonsense. They're allowed to do that. Get that bullshit out of here.
However, they're not allowed to initiate sexual contact, be playable during a sex scene.
Yeah, but you and I know good and goddamn well that there are actually very few male characters who are really playable in sex scenes. I mean, what do you got? Kratos? I mean, that's hardly playable. And even then, you and I know good and goddamn well that if a feminist ever saw a video game where a woman was allowed or was the one being controlled to have sex, it would probably be considered some kind of rape simulator or whatever bullshit some feminists would say. They wouldn't let that shit fucking slide. Let's be real about that.
Or really have any input in a relationship outside of being an objective, a goal, a thing for the male hero to go after. This is not what happens with male characters. They're presented as tall, muscular, heroic, and brave, and most importantly, they're not supposed to be things we want to own.
Yeah, well, one, neither are women, and two, you could just as easily say men are actually objectified as things to be used as opposed to things to be owned. Once again, objectification is equal, it's just different, because men and women are attracted to different things.
They're not targets, they're not goals. Their ideals are our goals, but they themselves as individuals are not.
Or if you wanted to be a feminist, or in this case a minimist, you could say men are actually objectified as tools. Things to be used to get to another point in the story, but not really complex creatures or characters that have their own thoughts and ideas. Of course, that wouldn't be true. Same thing with the female characters. They also can have wants and dreams and aspirations, especially in different types of video games that have female protagonists, or female characters that are playable. However, when the vast majority of individuals who are picking up the product are men, of course, companies are going to pander to that demographic. Again, it's the same thing with literotica, and you don't have an issue with that.
That's what men are in the game industry. Not objectified, but idealized. That's the difference in the game industry, and this is where people arguing that we're all equal trip themselves up. Women are objectified, they're supposed to be things men want. Men are idealized, they are heroes men are supposed to want to be.
Well, again, not necessarily. Once again, it's entirely possible that a woman would also want to be desired, because, well, they do. And again, you can easily say men are tools to be used to get what the player wants, which is, let's say, fun. It's rather easy to flip that on its head. But again, I'm not one of those people who likes to think of objectification as unto itself really even an issue or problem, because, well, we're adults and we have the ability to compartmentalize, so it's not really an issue.
Now, frankly, I think this uniform idealization of what men ought to be is a problem in and of itself, but it's not the same problem faced by women. It's a different problem, and it's not equal, especially when the idealization involves traits that are generally considered pretty good to have. Physical strength, nobility, bravery. I mean, I'd rather have those traits than have no personality or life outside me tits and vulva.
You know, and the thing about all that is it really just kind of reveals how shallow of an individual you are. You're the one you can't see past the character's tits and vulva. But that doesn't mean that they don't have any personalities, any wants, dreams, or aspirations. You just don't see past it because you're only focusing on how sexy she is. And it's entirely possible to be a sexy woman that has objectives and dreams and aspirations. Just because they're not the focus of that video game doesn't mean that they don't have a backstory and thoughts and ideas. And let's all remember, we're talking about things that don't even exist right now. We do know that, right?
Hell, playable female characters get objectified and idealized.
And you could say the same exact thing about men. They just get objectified differently. Because we're different.
When it comes to male protagonists, you can have ugly, grizzled, or old characters. Your Marcus Phoenixes, your old Snakes. You can have a male hero that doesn't conform to the archetypal template of physical beauty.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And even what you just said, my friend, all those different traits you said weren't attractive about men, you can't say aren't attractive to some women. Because you're not a woman and you're not gay. Those men could be incredibly fucking sexy to some ladies. You don't know that because you're not gay. And even then, it doesn't really change what I kind of said. Even if these men were all ugly and grizzling, all that jazz, it ultimately does not change the fact that men are objectified as tools if women are objectified as sex objects.
Not so with a leading lady. Even the best playable female characters are going to be inoffensively beautiful in some way, shape or form, held on a pedestal to represent what a good girl should be.
For starters, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And the second thing I have to ask if it kind of gives credence to what I've been saying about the objectification of men. Men are objectified as tools, as doers, as things to be used to get to another point. Or you would say women are objectified as things to be obtained. They're still objectified, it's just different. And ultimately, I'd actually say it's a little worse to be objectified as a tool, because that would mean other men around you are also tools and they get slaughtered. Most women don't get slaughtered in video games. Just saying.
There's a bit more leeway with supporting characters, but not much, and very rarely. It sounds good to say we're all equally objectified. It sounds inclusive. It is, as I say, untrue.
Well, you're wrong, so it really doesn't matter.
And only serves to obscure the actual problems with both female and male video game characters. So, let's not do that.
Well, see, here's the thing, friend. You're only asserting things are a problem, but you're not really explaining why it's an issue. You're saying it's an issue that female characters are really sexy. Why? You're just saying, hey, it's sexual objectification, that's wrong. Why is it wrong? Why is it a problem? Now, I have a feeling that to enter this video, you kind of have to have some kind of prior knowledge. So, of course, I can assume that it's wrong because I guess it sets up an unrealistic expectation for women, perhaps. Same way it's wrong for men to do it because it sets up an unrealistic image of what men are supposed to be. However, we are talking about video games. And let's not forget the fact that you have to fight dragons and hydras and demons and monsters. Video games by definition, are supposed to be unrealistic, or at least a specific type of video game is. To extrapolate that people are going to think that I have to adhere to these unrealistic expectations of being a demigod like Kratos, who is fighting hydras, is absolutely absurd. So absurd that there's almost isn't even a reason to have a discussion like this. And pretty much the video ends there. So with that being said, man, I certainly hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you did, man, go ahead and click that like button. Go ahead and click that subscribe button. Comment in the comments below. And as always, have a great day. I will see you cool cats soon. Adios.